have to say, after I just finished watching I Parry Everything episode 1, it really outdid my expectations by a ton, and this might actually turn out to be a hidden gem of the season if it keeps going in this direction. Hello and welcome back. In this one we are indeed going over I Parry Everything episode 1, reviewing, analyzing, and reacting to it. And while, as I mentioned, I really didn't have the biggest expectations after reading the title and synopsis for this anime, episode 1 really did a good and really great job, actually, of changing my mind and really becoming invested in this story and our main character. First of all, though, let's go over a quick synopsis so we can get all of you up to speed. So we have Nor, our main character. His father dies off-screen before we ever see anything of him. Just see him in a few flashbacks, and how he basically jumpstarts Nor's want to be an adventurer. We also see him taking care of his dying mother when he is a child before she also passes away, which leaves him to be without parents and fending for himself from a young age. And they basically just spend more or less the entirety of episode 1 showcasing him going through a ton of different trials and schools and everything to become an adventurer, which has become his end-all be-all goal in life after his mother passed away, and him wanting to find his purpose in life. But as the title suggests, he gets no skills really, except for a few minor skills in each different adventuring class, so to speak, except for parrying. And he practices this for, 14 years, but gains no new skills, though he finishes his parrying training by being able to parry 1,000 opponents at the same time, which, you know what? Sounds pretty good to me, not gonna lie. And then, of course, at the end of episode 1, he has this big fight, so to speak, with this cow, as he calls it, and that is sort of where we leave off from episode 1, and how we will continue the story moving forward. A very simple sort of synopsis and story so far, without too much depth, you might say, but one thing they did really well in episode 1, and that really made me want to watch this show a lot more, is the character building they spent a lot of time on in this episode. I really liked the flashback and how the anime just spent, actually a good amount of time showing that even as a kid, when his mom was the only parent he had left and she was sick and dying, he spent all day every day taking care of the home, taking care of the livestock, making food, heating up water for her, just keeping her as comfortable as possible until she inevitably passed away. But even after that, just kept building on his clear, strong moral foundations that he got just growing up, and from his parents as well, I assume, and how he just kept that going, and how they showed the sort of character and sort of man he really is, or grew up to be, after his mother passed away and him going into the capital, trying to be an adventurer because that's what he decided he wanted to do with his life, based on his mother's comments before she died. Just showing his character, his grit, his determination, just his pure and raw want to achieve something, and going to insane lengths to get there. Trying to be an adventurer from the get-go, being told that, hey, you have to get some skills to be an adventurer. Okay, I'm going to go to every single possible adventuring school in the capital and get some skills somewhere, surely. To spend some months at every single school without getting anything except a parry skill and some minor level skills at every other school that doesn't really do anything. But just how they kept showing and really hammering down that this man is sort of like a one-man machine, right? He doesn't give up. It doesn't matter how rough things may be. It doesn't matter how much opposition he gets. It doesn't matter how many times he's told to quit. He has a goal, he has a dream, and he will achieve it, no matter the cost, no matter how long or how hard it is. And just, again, how much time they spent on really nailing down his character, his motivations, his strong moral foundations and character foundations. I mean, to be honest, it's more character work than the majority of power fantasy MCs get in an entire season, to be honest. Like, how many anime haven't you seen, especially in the isekai or power fantasy genre, where the main character barely gets any character development at all? You have no idea what their motivations are, their dreams are, what their character traits are, what they value, what they don't value, their morals, their ethics, anything. Like, how many times have you seen that? I assume many, especially if you're like me and you've seen a ton of power fantasy. But then you see this anime in episode 1, them spending almost the entire episode just building his character. It's like, you know what? Bravo. Actually, bravo. That deserves an absolute, pure and utter clap. Good job. And because they spent all this time building up our main character and making us, at least me, invested in him, liking him, wanting him to succeed, it also makes me invested in the show, because I want to now see, what is he going to do? How is he going to fare in this world moving forward now? So I have to say I'm very happy with how they did that in episode 1, and I'm very excited to see how they go further with this character moving forward in the season as well. Anyhow though, after he does, end the 3-month trial at all these different schools, it goes back to the adventuring guild, right? So it's sort of told that, hey, if you don't have any skills, can't be an adventurer. And of course, very sad, leaves the capital and then goes back to his home cottage, I guess. But then still, trains for 14 years, every single day, morning, evening, night, just parrying, trying to get more skills. Which, as I mentioned, doesn't happen, but of course he gets insanely OP in parrying specifically. But again, showing that determination and just his absolute Hulk-like physique at the end of that training arc as well. And I mean, if you're gonna do a training montage, this one did it as good as you can expect. And who doesn't love a nice, good montage, right?
We're gonna need a montage. Ooh, it takes a montage.
Outside of his character specifically as well, I do like how they incorporate these small skills he learns over the course of the months he spent at all these schools, like Featherstep being, I guess, the most basic thief skill, and Tiny Flame, the most basic magic or mage skill, and like Physical Enhancement, the most basic warrior skill. Just like these super low tier skills that he learned from each school that doesn't really have any real benefit in battle or as an adventurer, but really helps him in his day-to-day life being a F-rank adventurer, because that's what he ends up being. Though I have to say, I'm pretty sure the guildmaster there in the capital, after seeing him come back after 14 years of solitary training and still not gaining any new skills, I think that whole F rank was just something he made up. It's like, well, you can't be an E rank, which is really the lowest, so I guess I'm just gonna make up an F rank, and, you can do that. Of course, his perplexity actually accepts, because F rank is just doing manual labor and helping around town. But it does. I mean, so I'm good on the guildmaster, I guess, for being considerate and offering him any sort of spot as an adventurer at all. And again, this also goes to show, like, even if our MC Nor can just be an F-rank adventurer, which is, I guess, the lower than the lowest rank, really, and possibly just a made-up rank, to be honest, still makes him so giddy, so excited that finally I reached my goal. Finally, I'm an adventurer, even if it is just something minor like this. Anyhow, though, overall, as I mentioned, really like the character work this first episode. Really made our MC Nor seem like a likable, great guy that you want to root for, you want to see him succeed, you want to see how he does in this world, and you want to see him get the recognition you feel he deserves. And if they keep up this sort of character work with other characters as well, or just the overall story, I think this might definitely be a really good show this season. Before we get into my other thoughts and first impressions of the show, if you are liking this video, my thoughts or anything, please do remember to like and subscribe. It greatly helps out the channel, so thank you. Now, some other notes I made here before I get into my first impressions is that initially here, it felt to me like the animation was a bit iffy. Like, the animation felt low budget at times. Like, the backgrounds felt really basic and really simple. And I thought that might be a precursor to, for example, the fight scenes or the more important parts of the animation also looking cheap. But no, it's just a stylistic choice, seemingly, because the fight scene looked more than good enough, and the animation itself on the important parts looked more than good enough. So that was good. I was worried for a second, but it was not warranted, clearly. Another part of this episode that I enjoyed was just like the sort of semi-humor they have, where our main character is kind of dense, right? Which most powerful fantasy characters usually are. But after he parries this cow, as he calls it, which I assume in reality is actually an S-rank monster of some sort. But then after him, like, thinking to himself, wow, I barely beat this overgrown cow in town, and I thought I could be an adventurer? Oof. If I faced an actual monster, I'd be crushed. It's like, yeah, dude, I think you're missing the point here. But just allowing for that sort of small levity and humor made me chuckle as well at the end of the episode. Even after he defeats this overgrown cow, as he calls it, and this heroine character, which looks to be part of the season moving forward as well, based on the OPED. She asks for his name, and it's like, no, I'm no one important. Just walks away. Of course, some might interpret that as him acting cool and indifferent, but no, he probably just thinks that he beat an overgrown cow, and it's not worth mentioning at all to anyone. It's like, okay, Nor, okay. Even the titling of the episode is somewhat humorous, with, I believe, the title being I Parry a Cow. I mean, I guess it's a cow, kind of. More of a bull, but close enough, I guess. Now, from the ED, it did look like we will get introduced to another knight-esque waifu. Maybe a warrior of some sort, or probably like a swordsman. And then, of course, we have the waifu we were already introduced to at the end of episode 1, which is the mage, assumingly. And it seems like these two, with our MC, will be the main cast for season 1 in terms of our protagonists. And I felt when I saw that ED that, this can be interesting if they have these two prodigy characters, which I assume they are, because they look powerful and talented, right? With the swordsman or swordswoman and the mage, and how that might really be an interesting dynamic with our main character who, got no skills, didn't have any innate talent, or was no prodigy, but how he just excelled through pure grit and determination, and how that might contrast between these three characters over the course of the season could be interesting to see. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that, if anything. My overall first impressions, though, as I mentioned before, I really liked them just spending all this time building his character, building his moral foundations, one streams, one motivations, all that stuff. And they did a good job of doing that. And it really made me root for him, want to see Nor succeed, want to see more of him in this world, see what he does. And really probably got me more invested than any other show this season so far. And for that, I'm definitely giving it a thumbs up. And that they actually bothered spending the first entire episode, more or less, just building his character and showcasing his character from early age till now, especially considering it's a 12-episode season, I believe, is something I don't think most anime would really do, especially Power Fantasy anime, because they usually just want to get straight into the action. So I have to give props where props are due in this case. But yeah, I'm just very invested to see where Nor goes next, what he does next, how this story develops across the course of the season, and hopefully I've convinced you to give this show a try as well if you haven't already, because I will definitely say this may very well be a hidden or the hidden gem of the season if this quality keeps up and this narrative keeps up, because as I said, so far, I am definitely really enjoying it. Anyhow, though, what did you think of the episode? If you watched it, like it, hate it, leave those comments down below, or of course any other comments you have on me or the video or anything else. Do read and respond to all of them. That being said, hope you have a good day, keep watching anime, and now I have to go cover like 5 other shows in the next 12 hours. Bye-bye.